ground.
I see. And until years later.
Yeah, that, well, I was never with the show when they did ramp to ramp.
Hmm. I don't want to sound redundant then. So at first they were. I just want to sure I'm straight on it. They would do ramp to ground, and then
They always did ramp to ground.
so they never did ramp to landing in junkers.
Now there's a difference. There was what they called the T-bone crash, and I've got pictures of that somewhere, where they jump off a ramp and land on a junk car. One car, parked crossways. That's why the T-bone.
Mm-hmm.
Now they landed on the car, not the ramp. But that was done as the last act in the show, after the car had maybe been in a head-on crash, was already wrecked, and they didn't have to restore it or anything. And they could do a ramp jump and leave the car sit there for a while. But they never did a ramp to ramp in the show. Any show, any car. Now that's big thing with some daredevils, but it never impressed the hell drivers or the death dodgers. And I think they were right. You can see it in pictures. On a ramp to ramp, you see a picture of a car up in the air and other cars around. But on a ramp to ground, you see a car going through the air like an airplane without wings. And he is up high and he is going. And he doesn't land on anything to make it easy.
Want to take a piss break?
A what break?
A piss break?
Okay. I want to see what time it is.
One thing I wondered was you were telling me about your first car was a Chubby.
Yeah.
You had said. Did you have to get a driver's license then?
Yeah.
You had to write a test?
Well, no. You just went in and signed up. That's about all there was to it. At that time,
So anybody could get one.
practically.
Was there an office?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And you get a plate at the same time, or what was the...
No, you didn't get license for the car at the same time. Your driver's license was a separate thing. That was for you. The car plates were changed every year. Driver's license was ordinarily good for 3 or 4 years.
So it's always been licensed.
What has?
Cars. I wondered, because I wondered if they started licensing and then started mass producing cars, or if it was the other
Oh
way
no,
around.
cars had license plates before I was born.
I'm just... When they were, you mentioned also that sometimes they use stock cars all the time,
Yeah.
and that sometimes they'd take somebody's car and then they'd prepare it real quick to use it.
Yeah.
and they'd change the seat belts, the seats.
Yeah.
Something else about it. And but they'd leave all the glass in?
Oh yeah, run it down.
When they would do the regular show, would they have all the glass in the car?
It depended. If it was a practically new car, it usually had the glass. Sometimes after they'd been rolled a few times, the glass was pretty well busted up, and they didn't bother fixing it. But the glass didn't mean anything as far as the stunt was concerned.
They'd ever worried about getting hurt by a windshield blowing out of it, or?
No, they wore leather jackets. That's good protection against glass. And they'd button the collar way up, and they would put a towel around their neck to keep glass fragments from going down their collar. And that was about all the worrying they did about glass. Of course, they had goggles to keep it out of their face. Glass was not any problem.
I imagine car racing was real big at that time too, was it?
Oh, you had a certain amount of stock car racing. You had midget racers, and you had what they called Indy cars, and you had dirt track racers. That was about it.
Were they, do you think they were which was more popular, the racing or the thrill shows?
Well, I think the thrill show really.
Was better?
Well, it was more interesting. When you're watching a race, you just see cars going around the ring and now and then trying to pass each other. There isn't near as much to watch as there is in a good thrill show.
Unless, I guess, there's a big crash in the race.
Big what?
Crash?
Well, you see one crash, you've seen them all, pretty much, on a racetrack. But seeing a car deliberately rolled over or driven through a big board wall, that's something different.
You want your slippers?
No, I just kicked my shoes off.
Okay. I'm just going to move your table a bit closer in case you want your drink. You also mentioned the cars. Oh, I'm gonna close that door a bit if I can. I think you mentioned that the cars at the beginning, they only went so fast.
Well, the speed varied according to the track you were on and how it was built. That's what the engineer did. He would judge that and decide how fast you were supposed to go, and you went by signal flags.
Did the
Green meant speed up, white meant you go as is, red meant slow it down.
Were there signals like that you could give to the drivers when they were doing stunts?
Yeah, that's when it was necessary.
Would you use flags?
Yeah, a lot. And if I was up where they could see me, I could give them arm signals. I could give them slow down, go on by, or speed up.
Would you, I guess from watching the stunts, day in and day out every weekend, you would be able to tell?
Oh, yeah. I can tell by the sound of the car how fast he was going.
And whether it would work or not?
Yeah, no problem. The only thing they had to depend on me for was in case some obstruction showed up on the track or somebody got out of the audience onto the track, why they'd watch me, I could wave them off.
Tell me a bit again about, I know we don't have it on tape, I don't think, is when you the first time you announced, what led up to that? Somebody was late, you mentioned, I think.
The first time I went out.
The first time you were the announcer?
Oh, somebody was a little late. I don't remember who now.
Wasn't Irish Haran or?
I doubt it. Haran was always on time. They had a guy from Texas named Duke something. It could have been him. So long ago, I don't remember that.
So he was late showing up?
Yeah. Why, I don't remember. So when I found out what was wrong and was holding up the show, I said, well, get in your cars and give me the damn mic, we'll run.
When you were a boy, did you have any toy cars?
No,
No soapbox derby?
no. They didn't have any soapbox derbies then. First one was 1935 in Mansfield.
Would you like to stop for a little while, Bob?
No, I'm all right.
Oh, okay. All right. You just seem a little tired. I know you've had a busy day down at the bank and everything. But I just thought if you wanted to stop for a bit and have
Oh,
a
I'm all right.
Okay. Well, let me know if you want to stop. What do you think? What do you think was more dangerous, driving on the road or thrill show?
Oh, driving on the road, naturally. You had all kinds of cars in all kinds of condition. You had drivers in all kinds of physical condition. You had some drivers that had been drinking or taking the wrong kind of medicine. You had all these unknowns. You had people driving cars that were exhausted or too tired to be alert. And anyway, the average person driving down the road had no idea what to do in an emergency. Just to show you, ask you one question, you won't know the answer. What's the best thing a car can do for you?
I don't know.
Sure you do, but you're not thinking.
The best thing a car can do for me?
Right.
Get me where I'm going in one piece, I guess.
No, get you home alive.
Mm-hmm.
And it never occurs to you to, when you're going down the road, even on a divided highway, to be looking for an escape route. A place you can go if somebody comes down your side of the road or crosses the median. You don't try to stop, because if you don't stop, you get a head-on crash. If you do stop, the guy behind you rear ends you, and that's almost as bad. You know what you do?
What's that?
You look for a space in between fence posts. drive off the pavement right into the fence in between the two posts. It acts just like a net. Stops you without stopping you too abruptly. You don't want to hit the post, you just want to hit the wire.
I'll remember that.
You may scratch up the car a little bit, but you can always paint it.
That's true.
But if you see a car off the road when you're coming down the highway and